What'd you call me?
No, I'd have done better than that. Anyway.
Alrighty.
Hey, it's another Mike and Mike's off-air podcast. Mike O'Neill from the new My 97.5.
And Mike Pesto waving strangely at the camera. Of course, you can watch us anytime you like as well. We won't have any visual aids like we had last week, though, with whatever that thing was.
Is it meant to compress?
I just broke it. That I had that was supposed to help you slice tomatoes.
Yeah.
That thing was just odd.
That was, you know what it was? It was unnecessary.
Exactly.
That's one of the things you go through your kitchen and go, what was I thinking when I bought that piece of crap?
How drunk was I watching QVC to think?
Exactly. It'll help me slice tomatoes because that's such a challenge for me.
Did you ever, or maybe you do on occasion now, did you ever watch QVC?
You know who's into that is my wife's mother. Everything in her house is from QVC, and I'm not exaggerating a single item. I mean, she's bought us things on QVC.
The whole idea of it, and I say this, and I've been guilty of it too when I was into sports card collecting years ago. I would watch when I knew that they had a sports card segment on, whether it was supplies that you needed to protect your cards or actual cards that were being sold. And I would watch for a half hour at a time. But if you think of the concept of it, it's like going to Target or Kohl's and going to the electronics section and just sitting there and just waiting for the item that you want to finally get presented. Because you can't buy anything until it's actually on the screen and you see what the little code is, so you know how to call in and ask for it.
I don't need a George Foreman grill. Come on, show me a stereo receiver or something. I know. It's pretty interesting. And this is how QVC, my mother-in-law, is. Remember that I told you we got the Tempur-Pedic years ago?
Yeah.
That's where we got it from. She saw it. She knew we were looking. She just literally bought it and said, we have your bed. And we gave her the money. We didn't shop at Mattress World or whatever.
Firm or whatever they are now,
Oh, guess what? Our bed is it's on the way, hon. So
I can't shop that way.
Hey,
now, obviously I could back in the day. I can't remember if I ever bought anything from QVC, but I watched with the intention of buying.
I don't have that much free time is the problem.
That's the other thing.
I'm really going to sit there for 38 minutes until the one thing I might possibly be interested in pops up. That's why they have it in themes. It's like, makeup hour or, it's garage fix-up stuff hour or
And they're
whatever.
not stupid either. They'll tease what they know is the best thing several times, knowing it's going to be the last item they show you, hoping that you buy 5 or 6 things along the way.
Yeah, first they're going to show you the left-handed smoke shifter, though, long long before they show you the garage door opener.
Looks so cool, though. I got to have that.
And it's 50% off.
Next thing you know, when it gets to the item you really wanted, you're broke at that point.
Yep. So it's nice to know that apparently our podcast might have had some influence in a recent event that happened in Hanford.
Now, I was trying to think of, because you mentioned that in the hallway. I can't remember if we actually talked about that in a podcast or we just talked about it in the hallway.
I think we did.
I think to go back and I'll have to listen to our podcast and take a look. But
I think we did.
If it was a podcast, it was months ago. But I know what the other thing is, you and I just talked about it in the hallway yesterday.
Yep.
So they must have our office bug. But Superior Dairy has been sold to someone. As we're talking today on March 25th, we have no idea who. They're keeping that very close to the vest. The only announcement that was made was from the realtor. And I think KC24 ran it as a story online, and I got some information that way. But again, still very we're not saying who the new owner is because they have not wanted to come forward yet.
Because if you're a guy like me, I mean, hopefully it's somebody that wants to do Superior Dairy like Superior Dairy's been done, and or even amplify what they do there. Because I mean, the idea I've always, who doesn't love Superior Dairy? I mean,
the single scoop there.
Yeah, the small, the size they don't have. But I mean, the ice cream was legendary, obviously, and it brought to mind something that I was thinking about the other day. That goes under Superior Dairy, goes under the heading of as South Valley as
Yes.
Superior Dairy, as South Valley as my favorite hot dog place that just slipped out of my brain.
Taylor Brothers.
Taylor's Hot Dogs, as South Valley as either the Hanford Fox or the Visalia Fox, as Mooney's Grove Park, which isn't even its real name, but it's what everybody calls it.
Not.
And that's, those are the so many as South Valley as. What's one?
Oh, just as what we were saying, Mooney's Grove. It's not Mooney's Grove.
It's literally not.
I've been corrected on that, and I know it's kind of like in Paso Robles, and it is Paso Robles. That's how you pronounce all those letters together. Here, I say Paso Robles. Those who have lived close enough to it forever and ever, amen, Paso Robles.
Yep.
Although, you and I talked about this a while back.
Because I was on the air on a radio station over there, so I knew that it had to be Paso Robles, or you didn't sound like you were, quote, from the area.
But what's interesting is I called the program director. I'm thinking about radio. The mayor at one point. After I moved here, because I got into a debate with someone, whether it's Paso Robles or Paso Robles, and called the mayor and got the full history of how it's actually pronounced, why the locals call it what they do, and that it's actually El Paso de Robles is the actual name of the town that got shortened to Paso Robles. For whatever reason, the locals don't want to pronounce it Robles,
and they
so
anglicized it. They anglicized it.
Yeah, which
is just like if you go to the city spelled Cambria. If you are from there, you live in Cambria. If you don't, it's probably going to be pronounced Cambria. And and I can't tell you how many people when I lived there asked me how much I liked Lompoc. If you want to get in a fist fight in Lompoc, that's where you start. Walk into a bar and say, "I hate Lompoc." You'll be on your back in about 8 seconds.
Well, obviously you do because you can't pronounce it right.
Yeah, but it's they're maniacal about that.
The other one that I've been meaning to talk about this on the air. Maybe one of these mornings I will. In fact, I guarantee one of these mornings I will. Is Whitendale.
Yep. Or.
If you look at how it's actually spelled, it's Whitendale. It should be pronounced Whitendale, but because I heard it when I first moved here some 14 years or so ago, I heard it pronounced before I actually saw all the letters. So I remember I was driving at one point, and I'm like, okay, that's Whitendale. Is that the same thing as Whitendale? It must be a different street. So I kept looking for a Whitendale. Sure enough,
that's definitely as South Valley as is.
Yeah.
Some of the older, more country folk live in Tulare.
Yep.
And also
Tulare. I've heard Tulare as well without the E at the end.
I hear the Tulare, and I also hear Leemore.
Yep. Hear that one
That's
as well.
older folks, more agricultural folks. That it's just, it is what it is. People call it what they call it, but those are some as South Valley as.
So let me ask you, since you brought up Superior Dairy, and I want to talk about that anyway. You're the buyer. You bought it. Congratulations. It is now yours. What do you, Mike O'Neill, plan on doing with the Superior Dairy location?
At first, the first thing I'm going to do is open the restaurant back up because I know people missed wasn't it takeout for quite a while?
For the longest, they stopped the ice cream serving altogether from what I understood. In fact, my wife and I and the kids, we went there after one of the Winter Wonderland events, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. And my wife got in a great conversation with one of the workers there and explained why they never came back from COVID and why everything was still taped out. It was, I'll be honest, it was depressing walking in there because there was the yellow caution tape everywhere, over the booths, over the chairs, just as a COVID reminder, if you will, that that's how things were back then. But you still could not go into that area. It was the area, the back where they used to keep the ice cream in the freezer.
Right.
You could go there and you could order sandwiches that they would make, and that was it.
I hated that because on any Friday, any general busy night of the week, you had to wait to get in there, and
Yep.
it was. I mean, and if something was happening out in the courtyard, forget about it. You're in a line, and I mean, I would open it up to exactly what it was before.
Okay.
For starters, because that will get people back in. Finally, I can get my single. Sure, it's a single. Huge, giant scoop of ice cream. The wonderful, incredible ice cream they make there, and but the food was really good there.
I don't know that I ever had the food there.
It really was.
Okay.
They had some signature food that they made that was really, really good. People went for. I would open it up the way it was and then build, because probably whoever bought it has an idea.
I would hope
I love
so.
what they are, but I was kind of thinking of adding this too.
There's a spin on it I would love to see. And again, we talked about this in the hallway just yesterday. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor.
Oh man.
If you had ever been to one, and I don't know if there was one close to us here in the South Valley. Maybe there was one possibly in Fresno. I had heard rumors that for a while there was still one in San Diego. Maybe there still is like one. Like there's one Blockbuster still, I think, in Washington State or in Oregon, one or the other. All the others are closed, but there's still just that one. Their theming was incredible.
Yeah, they're closed.
So it is closed then. So something not a knockoff of that, but something with a little bit more theming to create more of an event. Although it wasn't broke before, so I think it would be smart, whoever does it, bring it back almost identical to the way it was. And as you want to make incremental changes here and there, go for it. But at least for the first year, let us have Superior Dairy back the way we remember it.
Yeah, because that's going to, once people are back in, then you can go, then don't wreck it, but add on stuff.
Change a little bit here or there.
And add in, don't take away. And it'll be hugely successful again, because the service there was excellent. The food was incredible. It's not lost that there was the kitsch with Steve Perry, who grew up in Hanford and had a relationship with the owner and was known to zoom in, and out because he knew the owner, and that's just all cool stuff,
In fact, I want to say when he released his first or second Christmas album a few years ago, they actually interviewed him, and he insisted they interview him at Superior Dairy. He had the single scoop in front of him, and they both shared one. Do you have, because I'm sure most people who have lived here long enough have one memory that stands out of having gone there, maybe your first time, maybe taking somebody there with you at some point?
I don't have a specific memory, but I have a series, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We do the free concert series out there. It's in Tulare. It's also in Porterville. Yeah. But we also do shows in Hanford, right out there
right by the steps
on the Hanford Corsair. So we were always, such and such is coming to Hanford, and you know where we're going after. And if you were smart, and we'd get about halfway through the show. We got to leave now. We got to get in line, or we're not getting in. And we'd go over to Superior Dairy and get ready. And that's one of the things I remember, because we've done that a bunch of times.
My favorite memory ties in with one of those appearances. Kanan Smith, country artist, came into town, and my wife and I forget where our kids were. I think my mom maybe had been in town, so she was at home with the kids watching them. So we had a date night, and we were talking with Kanan afterwards. He's like, "Is there a bar we can go to?" I want to hit a bar. I'm like, "You can find a bar anywhere. We've got a better idea for you." And we talked him into, without him knowing what it was, going to Superior Dairy, and walked in, and bright lights obviously was the first thing that got his attention, because you remember how well that place was lit. And he's like, "This is
not Farrell's was."
Yeah, this is not a bar. It's like, no, it's not. But trust me, you will not get an experience like this anywhere else. You're here in the South Valley. We want to give you a South Valley experience. So, got him one of the single scoops. He barely got through it with a little bit of help. And then afterwards, as we were leaving, someone pulled up in their Chevy F-150, whatever it was, and asked him to sign their truck.
Nice.
So got out a Sharpie as he's signing it. I'm asking, I'm sure you sign lots of things. Is this his first truck? He's like, yep. First time I've ever signed a truck. So
Like-
had his first experience at Superior Dairy, which I still have pictures and video of, and the first time he ever signed a truck, and I got pictures of that as well.
And I'd like to also point out that a Chevy F-150 is an oxymoron because that's a Ford.
Oh, is it?
So I just thought I'd share that.
I'm not much of a truck guy,
Yeah,
obviously.
well, you've got so many trucks, but that's a great experience right there.
Yeah, I will never forget that, and I doubt he will either. I hope whoever bought it does intend, because we don't know. As we're sitting here on this March 25th, we don't know what the intentions of that owner are. The only one we've heard so far from is the realtor, and mum's the word at this point.
And a ton of opportunities to make so many more memories in the same exact way.
Yeah, so hopefully it still remains an ice cream parlor and a lot more.
Yeah.
Speaking of things coming, though, this was big news when it broke this past weekend. I believe it was the city manager for Tulare, where you call home, made an announcement that they are entertaining the possibility of putting in an entertainment district in Tulare, much like the city of Visalia is still trying to do with Sequoia Gateway.
Right.
Which, last I checked, 3 years in, has 2 gas stations and a Dutch Bros.
And a ton of space.
A ton. In fact, Great Wolf Lodge was supposed to go in there. They had a deal, at least that was being talked about by both sides. My understanding, Great Wolf Lodge pulled out of that deal for some reason, never really explained why. There were also rumors that IKEA was going in there. Turned out that was just a rumor, that there was nothing ever to that. So now Tulare is trying to jump on, which makes a lot of sense if you think about the amphitheater that just went in. Mm-hmm. Tulare is kind of seeing where Visalia is dropping the ball in a couple of these areas and thinking, hey, we're even closer to 99 because it cuts right through Tulare as opposed to Visalia. It's a glancing blow on Visalia. So it would be a great location. From what I understand, it would go in just north of where the outlets are now.
Yep.
And
right above that Dutch there.
Yes. So, and there are 3 businesses in particular that the city manager mentioned in talking about them possibly bringing that entertainment district in. That would be Great Wolf Lodge, mentioned once again, Top Golf, or a Bass Pro Shop. I have not been to any of those 3. So I can't say that I've got a horse in the race and says it has to be this or it has to be that. I've seen videos of all 3. When I lived in Illinois, in Peoria, East Peoria, across the river, they put in a Bass Pro Shop, and I can tell you it was a boom for the economy there.
Boy, if they put in a Wolf Lodge right there, do you understand how much the traffic and the infrastructure would have to be built up, and what the increase in traffic would be like?
It looks like there already is a lot of build-up for something there. I don't know if it was always this that they were intending to put in there, or this was just an idea that they had and now they're floating it, because again, there's nothing that's set in stone at this point. What it's going to be or who's going to come once they call it whatever they're going to call it. So that was one thing I was a little disappointed by, because the headline that I saw this past weekend almost made it sound like a deal was in the works. Not even close at this point.
Yeah, they're not actually talking to any of those 3.
No,
to look at it, you're like, oh, this is...
They're just floating ideas, kind of throwing it out there in space and seeing. So I went on the air Monday morning. I ran with it. So
they may as well have said Disneyland for that matter.
Oh, yeah. Disney, what would it be? Disney North.
Yeah.
So, again, as I'm looking at the poll right now, which is pinned to the top of our Facebook page, made it really easy for everyone to find. At this point, Great Wolf Lodge is leading by a pretty wide margin over Top Golf, and then Bass Pro Shop at this point is third. But
as hot as it gets here, Great Wolf Lodge would do well. I don't know if they'd make $1 million, but it would probably do pretty darn well. It's hot 8 months a year here.
How is it Fresno has 2 pretty nice water parks?
Yeah.
But Visalia has, well, what used to be a water park in Tulare. Now it's just a weed collection.
Totally.
And a splash pad, which is nice, but still basically just a splash pad at Adventure Park. That's all we got. And a couple little splash pads, I believe, at Riverway Sports Park.
And it made me sad because I live just around the corner from the old water park over there, and the city had it last, and it just literally is sitting there. just sitting there. They couldn't bring that back if they wanted to at this
The
point.
batting cages, and it's a skeleton of what it could have been. I think when I first moved here, it was open, kind of, sort of. I saw traffic in there, but I don't know that I ever saw anyone on any of the water attractions there.
We'd been on them a million times because we came in 1996.
Okay.
So it was open and very busy then. But it was always a lot of work. If you ever went to that water park, it's when you go up to one of the 3 slides, it is up. It was a big angle up. When you went home from that water park, leg day was over, man. Over. You were tired. But it was fun. It was legit.
Now, of those 3, have you been to any of them? Great Wolf Lodge, Top Golf, or Bass Pro Shop?
I'm not a fisherman, so no on the one. And although I think Bass also has some shooting stuff. I've never been to a Great Wolf Lodge, but I got excited when it was coming, and I looked at it like, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
I would be like, you know what, Colleen? We should go. If they have one in Visalia, we should just go stay the night just to get away. Just because it would be like, wow, we're on vacation. Okay, we can go home now. We'll be home in 10 minutes. But it's got that vacation vibe totally. It's like a junior resort, right? I would love that.
So the Top Golf, though, not even.
I'm not a golfer. You golf, and the reason I don't golf is because, well, I suck, and it's no fun doing something you're no good at. I tried so hard to be a golfer, Mike. It just never, ever happened for me.
I was surprised when I found out that the Mulligans was going to go in where the old theater was on Main Street. But apparently they're doing pretty decent business. And that if you've not been, it's my understanding, if you have been, please correct me if I'm wrong, that it's basically virtual golf. So you take your swing, you hit the ball, you hit a tarp basically, but on the tarp, there's a projection of the hole that you're teeing off on. So it's all drives and wedges and all those. You don't actually putt, I don't think. But they have tournaments and they do the whole thing. This is basically a driving range on steroids. It's like because Vegas, I believe, had one. And I lived there for a while.
It's like a batting cage for golf, right?
Basically, yeah. It's like 2 or 3 decks worth of driving ranges. And you get your clubs or you bring your own and you get a bucket of balls, but then they do targets that you're shooting for. And they get very, very creative. They almost have like a video game aspect to an actual physical activity that you're doing. They make it as video friendly as they can, but you're still doing all the physical exercise that you would if you were actually golfing 9 holes.
So I didn't hear if you said this. Have you tried it?
I have not.
Because I was wondering if you were a golfer, if it would really help you develop your game at all.
Probably not.
I was just curious if it was
because especially if
relatable
you're
to
on
real
that
life.
top, how often are you teeing off from the top of a 3-story building?
Right.
So, although there's some holes where I've golfed in Carmel Valley where you're up on top of a ridge and you're hitting down into a little valley. So I guess in that sense, but it's just trying to bring a little bit more entertainment to what is thought of by many to be a very boring sport.
Well, that would be fun. I think Mulligan's is fun. I've heard it's done very well, by the way.
Yeah, I
Very,
have not
very
been
well.
yet. I've talked about it with Tony, who used to work here as our promotions director. We've talked about going, and we cannot get our timing situated enough to do it.
Here's my chance to say hey to Tony. I love that he sounded off immediately when you put that up there, and he simply replied with one thing: "You know which one I'd pick."
Yeah,
Meaning the golf, which was that's Tony for
yeah,
sure.
He's a good golfer. We've golfed a few times, and I got the impression from him golfing that he kind of let me feel as though I could golf as well as he did for the front 9, and as the back 9 is like, all right, I think I'm warmed up now. That wasn't warmed up, and then next thing you know, he's hitting 300-yard shots down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, I know he had a relationship with the country club. I think he actually worked there or just enjoyed golfing there for a long time. So
I hope they do something there, though. I don't. Are there any other, if they turn it into an entertainment place, there's already a Dave & Buster's in Fresno, so I don't know. A lot of businesses like that, they don't want to cannibalize off themselves, so I don't know if having another Dave & Buster's in Tulare is too close to the one in Fresno. Are there any places like that you can think of that if they do go that route, they should think about doing?
I don't know. There's so much more here now than there was when we moved here. I remember when we moved here, we were like, "Yay, they have a Mervyn's," and we were so excited. But it's developed far, far beyond that. Obviously, God, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're so close to so many things. That's the thing. I think that's why a lot of places haven't come here, because they're close. They're close, not far away.
Yeah, like there was talk for a while that Fresno was going to get a Six Flags or some type of. Actually, it was specifically a Six Flags. It was like 2 years or so ago now. And I always thought, well, there's Magic Mountain, and that's not that far away. But please, I would love it if there was one a little closer to us. So I really was hoping it was going to happen. And then slowly that talk just kind of died off, and I haven't heard anything in the past year and a half now.
No, I can't think of anything in particular, because almost anything is within a half an hour that I'm used to going to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
All the restaurants we like, all the fast food or not fast food, or I don't know. Gosh, I don't. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you down here, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Even if
How about you?
If it's not a Great Wolf Lodge, something in that vein, I would love to see. An indoor-outdoor water park.
Yeah.
So that you can have the best of both worlds. Because let's be honest, for most of the year, it's nice enough here in the valley, you can enjoy a water park. There might be times you're going to have to heat the water a little bit, but when it gets to a point where it's rainy or overcast or very close to freezing cold, which we obviously get here in the valley, well, okay, let's just segue things to more of the indoor side of it.
The first time we went to the water parks, we didn't know how to do it right. We almost died, especially, and look how white I am, for God's sakes. I last about 98 seconds in the sun. And the idea of having a place to fall back to makes it very attractive in a place where it's hot as blazes 8 months a year. So it really makes a lot of sense, actually, to have a Wolf Lodge where you can be indoors or outdoors. I think they really would do very, very well.
It's just a matter of, is Visalia going to get it? Is Tulare going to get it? Because at some point,